I want to call this particular episode The Curious Case of the Black Male Heroes in the MCU. In particular, I want to talk about Don Cheadle's character of Rhodey, Anthony Mackie's character of Falcon or Sam Wilson, and Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. But in particular, I kind of want to focus in on Don Cheadle. I have a separate video that I'm going to do on Falcon and the Winter Soldier because I have a lot to say about Sam Wilson's character of Falcon, Anthony Mackie's portrayal of it, not the actor himself, but just the way it's written, because, again, there's a lot to say about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the representation. But just in general, I just want to do a series of videos talking about the curious case of the black characters in Marvel, period. I'm going to do a separate one on the female characters. You know, you have Armor Wars coming up, and you had Don Cheadle say that he still doesn't think, we haven't really figured out who he is, and so he's hoping that's what the movie's going to be for. And it's like, he first appeared, well, his character appeared in the very first Iron Man, the very first proper MCU movie, and then he took over from Terrence Howard, and he's introduced in the second movie, where you've had more or less secondary white characters like Clint Barton, who's already had their own Disney Plus show, not to mention all of the screen time. I mean, in the first Avengers movie, I believe, right in the first Avengers movie, we find out that he has a wife and kids, and he lives on a farm, you know? So we get all of this information about these other characters, but when it comes to the black male characters, we know nothing. And like I said, he's been around for almost 12 years. Don Cheadle has been playing his character for almost 12 years. And like you said, even now, we still don't know nothing about Rhodey. We don't know anything about him. Story is a very important thing to me. I'm always looking at these shows and movies as examples that we can discuss in class, because students really like to discuss the modern movies and things like that. You know, they don't always like you to pull the old classics out. You know, well, how does it apply to modern TV shows? And so we have fun looking at modern TV shows, modern streaming shows, and modern movies. And so when I see these things, my writer senses go up. When it comes to the male characters, particularly secondary characters, we know more about the white characters than we do about the black characters. And like Don Cheadle said, I still don't think we haven't really found out who Rhodey is. And so he's looking forward to the movie saying that, but that's a movie. And when you're talking about a movie, you have very limited real estate. And I suspect you're going to have a lot of other characters and things like that in that movie. But the interesting thing was, again, I mentioned that Hawkeye, Clint Barton, got his own show. And even though some people say it was a handoff to the Steinfeld actress and she's going to be Hawkeye, still you got to understand more about who he is and where he's coming from. Not to mention you got his and Natasha's relationship in the movie. You definitely double down on that, and you really get his characterization and who his character is and what he is about in the TV show. TV shows are great for that. Well, it just so happened that Armor Wars was supposed to also be a TV show, and it would have been a time for Don Cheadle's character to have some room to expand and for us to get to know him. Theoretically, that would have been a possibility. But again, once we got Falcon and Winter Soldier, we saw that did not happen for Sam Wilson either. So just having a TV show for the black characters really doesn't mean anything so far. But it doesn't matter because it was switched over from a TV show to a theatrical release. Yeah, that announcement happened back in September of 2022. They made the announcement. It came out that, oh, no, we're going to switch it over to a movie. So he didn't even get the vehicle of a TV show, Armor Wars TV show, to really expand who his character was so that we can understand who and what Rhodey is. So he gets reduced down. Now they're saying it's a improvement because we thought the story was better fitted for the big screen. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But now, again, as I tell my students, a screenplay, a movie is very limited real estate. You don't have a lot of time to do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things, but I have a feeling even though Don Cheadle is hoping that this is going to be a way for him to really dig into who his character is, you're not going to have anywhere near as much time as you would have had on your own streaming show. That's that theoretically. Again, as we see, that doesn't always happen. So once again, it just goes into this continuing dynamic that the black male characters really don't get any kind of treatment of the characters that really show who the characters are and really go into depth. The closest we had to that was obviously Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa, Black Panther. But again, because of his untimely death, Marvel quickly moved to kill off that character instead of recasting it. So we didn't get any in depth. In the first Black Panther movie, we learned more about Killmonger in his background than we did about T'Challa. And Ryan Coogler actually had a second movie which was going to explore more of who T'Challa is, exactly what Rhodey is saying that he hoped his movie's going to do for his character. I mean, Don Cheadle is saying he hoped the movie Armor Wars does this for his character of Rhodey, Iron Patriot. That's the same thing that Ryan Coogler said he was going to do for T'Challa. He was going to really explore who T'Challa was and where he comes from, and he was going to show him as a father and things like that. But unfortunately, again, Chadwick Boseman dies, and Marvel quickly moves to kill off the character for no good reason, so we can never get that story. Now we have Samuel L. Jackson, who's been there from the very start, and we know very little about him. There's been nothing devoted to him. So hopefully we will learn about Nick Fury in Secret Invasion, but I really wonder if we will. I think the focus of that Disney Plus series is going to be on the invasion part of it and less about, and his reaction to everything that's happened. Sure. So there's a possibility that we will really go into depth in who he is. We're now 12, 13 years in, and we're finally getting a show that we hope is going to go into one of these characters. We have a movie which the actor himself hoped that the movie will finally show you more about who this character is. And then you had Falcon and the Winter Soldier that did nothing to go into Sam's background. We didn't even get one flashback, although we got plenty of flashbacks in that show for Bucky. Even though we already had Bucky's story from all the movies, we went into even more depth with Bucky. But again, that's a separate video because I have a lot to say about the disparity of character development and depth in that show. Even though you had those two characters' names in the title, only one of them really got that perfect character treatment where the other one didn't get anything remotely the same. These characters have been around for a long time. You're seeing new characters get entire shows devoted to them and who they are. And these characters, these black male characters who've been around from almost the beginning, and we still don't know who they are and where they come from and what makes them tick. And again, I'm going to do a separate video on Falcon and the Winter Soldier because that's still the case with the Sam Wilson character too.